Imagine this. It's a quiet afternoon at a small gas station off Highway 19. A well-dressed man in his early 50s is calmly filling up his sleek $500,000 Rolls-Royce SUV. Suddenly, a police cruiser screeches in, parks diagonally to block his exit, and an officer steps out with suspicion already written all over his face. "Nice car," the officer says sarcastically. "Where'd you get it?" The man looks up politely. "It's mine, officer, just filling up." The officer smirks. "Don't see too many guys like you driving something like this. Borrow it or steal it." That man, he's not a criminal. He's Judge Nathaniel Briggs, a respected Superior Court judge with decades on the bench. What started as a routine fuel stop turned into a shocking confrontation caught on multiple cameras that exposed deep issues of bias, power, and accountability. This story went viral, sparked a massive investigation, and ended with a multi-million-dollar settlement, all because one man refused to back down when his rights were violated. If you believe every person deserves respect and fair treatment under the law, no matter who they are or what they drive, then this story will hit hard. Drop a like if you're already hooked, share this with someone who needs to see it, comment below where in the world you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button with the bell icon. Because stories like this remind us why we must stand up for justice, and I've got more coming every week that will inspire you to do the same. It was a typical Thursday afternoon in Brookside County. The sun was dipping low, the overhead lights at the gas station were just starting to hum, and the air carried that cool evening breeze. Judge Nathaniel Briggs, 53 years old, calm, composed, and known across the state for his fair and steady presence on the bench, had stayed late at the courthouse finishing paperwork. Dressed in a simple button-down shirt and slacks, no robe, no gavel, he pulled his dark luxury Rolls-Royce SUV up to pump number 4 to refuel before heading home. He moved with the same quiet dignity he carried into the courtroom every day. Straight posture, deliberate movements, focused on the task at hand. He twisted the fuel cap shut, completely unaware that a patrol cruiser was already slowing down on the highway, eyes locked onto his vehicle. Officer Mark Reich was on duty that evening. In Brookside County, he was known for what he called proactive policing, a term he used to justify stopping drivers who, in his view, did look like they belonged in expensive cars or certain neighborhoods. As his cruiser rolled past the gas station, Reich's gaze narrowed. He turned sharply into the lot, parked his vehicle diagonally across 2 spaces, effectively blocking the front of the judge's SUV, and stepped out with the confidence of someone who believed he'd already spotted something criminal. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't ask a casual question. He simply stared at the Rolls-Royce, shook his head slowly, and approached. "Sir, step away from the vehicle," Reich commanded. Judge Briggs glanced up, eyebrows raised slightly in quiet confusion rather than fear. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked politely. Instead of answering, Reich began circling the SUV like he was inspecting stolen property. He ran his hand across the hood to check if the engine was warm, leaned down to scan the license plate, and kept his tone sharp. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he added loudly. "We've had reports of a vehicle, matching this description, involved in multiple thefts." Briggs exhaled slowly, staying perfectly calm. "This vehicle, officer," Reich cut him off. "Where'd you get this car?" The question wasn't curious, it was loaded with assumption. It carried the clear implication that a man like Briggs couldn't possibly own something so expensive legitimately. The judge recognized that tone immediately. He'd heard it countless times in his courtroom from officers testifying in cases involving similar stops. He chose to respond respectfully anyway. "I purchased it 3 years ago. It's registered in my name. Insurance and registration paperwork are in the glove compartment if you'd like to see them." Reich tilted his head, clearly unconvinced. "Mind if I check?" Briggs frowned slightly. "Do you have probable cause to search my vehicle?" The officer smirked. "Yeah, you're standing next to a car that doesn't belong to you." Inside, Briggs felt the shift. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding or routine check. This was profiling, plain and simple, growing more obvious by the second. A gas station attendant peeked out from behind the glass door as Reich's voice rose. Customers at other pumps slowed their steps, sensing tension. Reich stepped closer. "I'm going to need your identification now." Briggs nodded and reached slowly for his wallet. I'm cooperating fully, officer, but I'd like to know the reason for this stop. Reich snapped, because this vehicle was reported stolen 15 minutes ago. Briggs narrowed his eyes. That was impossible. He'd been in the courthouse parking lot all afternoon. Who filed that report? He asked calmly. Reich ignored the question and tugged on the locked driver's side door handle. Unlock it. No, Briggs replied firmly. You don't have the right to search without cause. The air thickened. Overhead lights buzzed louder in the silence. Reich lowered his voice but not his aggression. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Briggs held his ground. You're making a mistake, officer. Reich's hand hovered just above his holster, not touching it, but close enough to send a clear message of intimidation. Briggs didn't flinch. He simply met the officer's stare with the same steady composure he used when presiding over high-stakes trials. That's when everything changed. Reich thumbed his shoulder radio. Dispatch, Unit 12. Confirming suspected stolen vehicle at Highway 19 gas station. Requesting backup. His voice was calm, almost triumphant, as if he were reporting an undeniable fact rather than something he'd fabricated on the spot. Briggs's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. He knew how serious filing a false report was, and he knew the officer hadn't bothered to verify anything. A small crowd began to form at the edges of the lot, 3, then 4 people, phones out, quietly recording. The body cam on Reich's chest captured every word, every gesture. Security cameras above the pumps recorded from multiple angles. Even a street corner surveillance camera pointed toward the station caught the scene. Reich circled the SUV again, tapping the roof. People don't just drive cars like this around here unless something's off, he muttered. Briggs responded clearly. That's not probable cause, that's profiling. Reich ignored him completely and crouched to check the VIN through the windshield. Finding nothing suspicious, he still didn't back down. What did you say your name was again? You haven't asked for my name yet, Briggs replied. Then give it. The judge held out his wallet with his driver's license visible. Reich snatched it, flipped it open, and for a split second his eyebrows twitched when he saw Honorable Nathaniel Briggs. But instead of stepping back, he handed it back dismissively. Still doesn't mean the car is yours. Briggs inhaled slowly. My registration and insurance are in the glove compartment. You may view them if you acknowledge this is with my consent, not force. Reich scoffed. Don't try to lecture me on procedure. The disrespect was palpable, the kind reserved for someone the officer assumed didn't understand the law. Sirens grew louder in the distance. Backup was arriving. A second cruiser pulled in. Officer Jansen, taller and younger, stepped out and approached quickly. What's the situation? Reich didn't hesitate. Possible stolen vehicle, drivers being uncooperative. Briggs turned to the new officer. I've provided identification, I've offered paperwork, I've refused an unlawful search. Jansen glanced between them but moved to stand beside Reich. Sir, step away from the car. I'm already away, Briggs said. What more do you need? Reich raised a hand. We need you detained until we verify ownership. The word detained hung heavy. Briggs's jaw tightened. You have no grounds to detain me. Reich reached for his cuffs. Briggs stepped back slightly, not aggressively but defensively. Officer, you're making a serious mistake. Reich advanced. And you're resisting. I am not resisting, Briggs said sharply. I am standing still and asserting my rights. The small crowd watched in stunned silence as Reich prepared to handcuff a man who had done nothing wrong. Phones stayed up, recording every second. Then Briggs reached slowly into his inner coat pocket and pulled out a leather ID case. He opened it and held it out steadily under the gas station lights. The gold judicial emblem glinted clearly. Before you continue, he said calmly, you should know exactly who you're attempting to detain. Officer Jansen saw it first. His eyes widened, his posture straightened, and he took an involuntary half-step back. Reich glanced at the badge and froze. The words Honorable Nathaniel Briggs, Superior Court Judge, removed every false assumption he'd built the stop on. His hand slowly lowered the cuffs, a slight tremor visible on the body cam. Jansen muttered, Sir, we didn't know. Briggs cut him off firmly. You didn't need to know my title to treat me lawfully. The weight of the moment crashed down. Everything, the false, stolen vehicle claim, the intimidation, the attempted unlawful detention, was recorded from multiple angles against a sitting judge. Reich cleared his throat awkwardly. We were just doing our job. Briggs's voice grew sharper. No, you created a crime where none existed. A bystander stepped forward slightly. "I got the whole thing on video. If you need a copy." Briggs nodded once. "Thank you." Reich turned toward the witness. "This is an active investigation. Stop recording." The man didn't lower his phone. "This is a public place." The officers backed away, creating the distance they should have maintained from the beginning. With deliberate calm, Judge Briggs opened his driver's side door, retrieved the registration and insurance papers he'd offered earlier, and handed them to Jansen. "Verify it now." Jansen scanned the documents. Everything matched perfectly. No stolen report had ever existed. He handed them back quietly. "Everything's valid, sir." Briggs looked at both officers. "I know." Then, turning directly to Reich, "Officer, I advise you to document your actions tonight very carefully. You'll be asked to explain them under oath." Reich's shoulders slumped. He avoided eye contact. "You're free to go." Briggs climbed into his SUV, started the engine, and drove away smoothly while the small crowd watched in silence. But the story didn't end there. Within hours, bystander footage hit social media. By morning, it was statewide news. By the next day, national outlets were replaying the confrontation frame by frame. Civil rights attorneys reached out. Community leaders demanded answers. Even some law enforcement voices expressed concern. 48 hours later, an official internal investigation into Officer Mark Reich was launched, and it uncovered patterns. Previous complaints, unreported stops, multiple accusations of targeting drivers based on appearance and vehicle. 5 days after the incident, Judge Briggs filed a federal lawsuit against the department for $13.8 million, citing unlawful detention, racial profiling, emotional distress, and violation of constitutional rights. The filing was quiet, professional, and backed by irrefutable evidence: body cam footage, gas station security video, witness recordings, and the officer's own words. The department didn't fight it long. 3 months later, they settled for a substantial amount. Officer Reich was fired. His supervisor was tasked with retraining the entire division on constitutional policing and bias awareness. The gas station even installed a small sign above the pumps: "All interactions recorded in high definition for your safety and ours." Judge Briggs returned to his courtroom the following week with the same calm authority he'd always had. He gave no dramatic interviews, no victory speeches. But in a later public statement, he said one line that summed it all up: "I wasn't looking for a fight. I was looking for respect." That single encounter at a quiet gas station didn't just change one officer's career. It forced an entire department to confront bias, reminded millions why documentation and calm courage matter, and proved that standing firm for your rights, even when facing power, can spark real change. Remember, your voice matters. Your rights matter. And sometimes the most powerful courtroom isn't inside a grand building. It's a gas station parking lot under buzzing lights, with a camera that refuses to look away. If this story moved you, if it reminded you why we must demand fairness and accountability, then hit that like button to let me know. Share this video far and wide so more people wake up to these truths. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what you think about standing up against injustice. And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because every week I bring you real stories of courage, resilience, and triumph that will motivate you to be the change you want to see. You've got the power to make a difference. Start right now by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one. Stay strong, stay aware, and keep fighting for what's right.